After graduation, we will go to political leader and ask that political leader to give us a job. In fact, we were against that.
I'm not able to control myself to ask this question. Do you find any difference in the motive of education in India and Australia or abroad?
Education should provide the ability of individual to become something expert in that particular discipline. That time somebody going to Germany to do masters, that clicked me, and myself and some of my childhood friends, school friends, we decided to give him sort of farewell. Learn from my parents, especially talking about my father. I used to ask him, you never went to school, but how can you write? How can you read? How you develop? So one of our relatives who is of his age, he used to go to those schools, that school. And he used to come in, and whole day he was working with my father. They used to write those alphabets on the soil. Where they were plowing, and this is how the G is written, this is how M is written.
Great.
And they were practicing. So I learned one thing, that nothing is impossible. Send off we call. I decided to give my speech in English.
Great.
Everybody was making fun of me after it. I said, I don't care. Let me try, and I did that. And all teachers, they mentioned in their speeches that, look, this is what we want.
What actually pushed you to come back to India after doing a lot of activities in Australia? Welcome audience, welcome back to another episode of 50 Visionary Academicians. And I'm feeling fortunate today because I'm going to acquaint you to such an eminent academician who has worked more than 60-70% of his career, or he has given dedication, or he has done his work in international universities in Australia and some other parts of countries. He has been contributing into many international universities for so many activities, and that we are going to unfold in the upcoming part of the interview. He has more than 30 years of experience in teaching, research, and managerial experience in higher and further education. I am presenting to you all Honorable Professor Dr. Arun Patil sir, and I'm going to just give a quick list of awards and recognition he has achieved so far. The first is Most Innovative Vice-Chancellor Award from Golden AIM Awards, India, Deakin University School of Engineers Award for overall contribution to the school. Then next is Mahatma Gandhi Pravasi Sanwar Award by the Non-Resident Indians Welfare Society of India. The Vice Chancellor's Award for Best Practices in Learning and Teaching from CQ University, Australia, and Silver Badge of Honor from Monash University, Australia. I think this list itself is explaining the work he has done so far. So without wasting time, let's quickly get acquainted to Professor Dr. Arun Patil sir. Sir, welcome, and thank you for your time for today's interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you for actually inviting me for this wonderful interaction. I would say rather this is interaction instead of interview.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But thank you very much for inviting me for this.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. So with your permission, let me just jump onto the first section of the interview. And in this section, I would like to introduce you from your schooling, childhood, and overall your school education part in this part of the interview. So can you tell us about your family backgrounds, about your schooling and overall your childhood?
Sure, thank you. So I come from a very rural, remote background. My parents, both father and mother, they never went to school. And brought up in a very rural area where we had that time my hometown has a population around 1200 to 1500. It's a very small town. Still that hometown does not have a post office, you can just imagine. And we were, 5 siblings together. And my eldest brother, who actually motivated all of us, especially me in particular, for education. And I learned many things. I observed him. So my schooling was in very simple Jilla Parishad school. And then I had a high school which is nearby, around 6 kilometers, in the place called Murugud. So I born and brought up in Kurukli, very small village in Kagal Taluka of Kolhapur district. And then after finishing my schooling, high schooling, in Murugud, I also had opportunity to do my schooling in Pune, because my brother was there. So I was with him and his family. And then again I came back to do my undergrad, which is Bachelor of Science in Physics, but with electronic specialization, which is again on Maharashtra-Karnataka border, very rural, remote college affiliated to Shivaji University, Devachan College. So I completed my undergraduate education there. So after that, I had my master's from Shivaji University, which was in electronics, applied electronics. But in between, I had a very, I would say, important experience, because before I started my master's, I had 1 year of high school teaching experience in very rural, remote Konkan area.
Great.
Where I learned many things. It was non-granted school, a high school, very remote, to that extent that there was only one bus going to that place. And after that, the whole town was, or whole hometown was no any connection with outside world, communication wise, So it was wonderful experience. But I saw that time, the poverty. I saw that time the passion. I saw that time struggle of some parents, students.
For education.
Yes, for education as well as for survival. Okay, many things I learned. But what I learned, the most important is hard times can really give you many, many things.
Great.
To develop yourself, and you can reflect on yourself.
Right.
And
Right.
because that was my first job in my life, okay, as a teacher. And after that, I did my master's from Shivaji University. And then after that, couple of years I spent again in junior college. That time the government had one scheme called minimum competencies vocational courses. So I was looking after vocational courses, one of the programs in electronics discipline, and I was in charge of that particular wing. There also I started, I would say rather my educational leadership started there. Because I had a very small group of teachers and instructors along with me, and I was senior there. That's why they were reporting to me. But again, same type of environment, Konkan, coastal Konkan area, where students were rather just learning, and they already have decided that they wanted to go to Mumbai to do any job. So there was not clear-cut objectives, clear-cut goals in the life. So I observed that. So it was also a wonderful experience.
So my next question actually is very relevant to it.
Yeah.
Because as you rightly said, there is no career objective, there is no vision, there is no visibility when a student is going to a school or that particular age. Yeah. So any specific incident or memory that you have from your school days that actually has helped you to, or that has provoked you to think about your future and career plans or something like that?
Sure. So, as I said, my brother, motivated me. I have a lot of influence on my life from him. But also, I have a great influence of my primary teacher. And I spend most of my time with the primary teacher at his home. Number one, because I personally, we did not have electricity at home. Okay, until I, went to year 10. And second thing is that my primary teacher has 2 sons, and they were best friend of mine. So I used to spend a lot of time, but I used to learn many things by observing. And then when I was in sort of higher secondary school and the junior level of undergraduate program, one of students from our village, Arun, his name is Arun as well, Arun Kulkarni. He actually motivated me. So the high school which I started, he was alumni of that high school.
Great.
When I entered for year 7, he just left doing his 10th. And my teachers always used to tell us in the class that, there are few students and in this region, in this area, and he's one of them, that bright students. And of course, we used to spend a lot of time together, although I was junior with Arun. And he used to teach us about, cricket, fielding, and used to take us to play cricket and so on. But I was observing him, and then after finishing his undergraduate, he decided to do masters in Germany.
Great.
So that time, somebody going to Germany to do masters, that clicked me. And myself and some of my the childhood friends, school friends, we decided to give him sort of farewell, okay, and felicitate him when we were students.
Great.
Because I thought, let's hear from him, why he's going, what is the motivation. So we interacted with him that day. He was very happy. He said, I really appreciate, these students, the group, they have really, what they have done for me. We invited his primary teacher to speak about him.
Great.
And all that really motivated me. I said, if he can do, why can't I? So that time only I decided that I want to definitely go for higher education and do it in overseas, abroad. That is I decided. But I was not sure how to do it because affordability was big question. Socio-economic status, our status was average. And I thought, okay, when time comes, it will happen. So let me start doing, some work and then earn some money as well and get some maturity, think what is happening, how to do that. But that was quite motivational to me, and I still remember the way we did it. It was fantastic.
That felicitation program.
Yes.
I think gratitude is the most important thing,
Yes,
and you knew that in your school days itself. So that's a very great thing.
Yeah.
So you planned that entire felicitation
Yes, I
program
initiated, and along with my childhood friends, we delivered that. It was well organized. It was nicely organized. All emceeing, coordinating, inviting. So everything we did. It was memorable program.
So I think that was the glimpse of leadership quality that time.
Exactly.
The next question is about what are the life lessons that you have learned from your parents, and that has helped you in the long future.
Yeah. So I would say life lessons learned from my parents, especially talking about my father. As I said, he never went to school, but he used to read whole newspaper in Marathi. He used to sign in English. His signature was in English. And, jokingly I used to ask him, you never went to school, but how can you write? And how can you read? How you develop? So he told very interesting stories. So because that time he was farmer basically. And he could not even afford to go to night school that time, which was not in our village, but it was somewhere 10-15 kilometers. And some of the farmers, after finishing day's work, they used to go to that night school, which was far, So he never went to that school. But one of our relatives who is of his age, he used to go to that school. And he used to come in, and whole day he was working with my father. So my father was asking him questions, what happened last night? And literally he told me that they used to write those alphabets on the soil. Where they were plowing and when they were working in the farm.
Great.
So he was showing my father, this is how the G is written, this is how M is written.
Great.
And they were practicing. So I learned one thing, that nothing is impossible. Okay, without going into the school.
True.
But forget about that, the way he learned, okay, and the way he developed himself, and he was fluently reading newspaper. He knew everything about revenues, department, about legal matters, a lot of legal matters. He used to advise many of our villagers, what to do in case if there are any legal issues, farming related, etc. So wonderful person, and I know he developed, never went to school, but the way he was talking, very polished, presentation, very polished, always in very clean clothes, properly ironed and so on. So I learned many things from him. I said, see, even what you have, you can be still you can represent yourself in a better way. You should really think all positive, that yes, I can do it.
Right.
And he is the one, and he was very brave enough. Okay, that is what I heard. Mother, on the other hand, she was more working and working with our struggle, family struggle. She was trying to cope up, trying to show us that everything is fine,
well. Yeah, right.
where it was not. And I learned from my parents that yes, in spite of anything, just don't blame your destiny, don't blame circumstances, don't blame others.
Right.
It is you, how you cope up with that and how you come out of that.
Right.
That's it. And that is very important, because nowadays also any situation, I always have that in mind, that rather than thinking other circumstances,
Right.
we have to think what I can do.
Kind of. True.
Okay, so that is something which I learned, life lesson, I would say.
Right. Absolutely, I can say it made me emotional because, as you rightly said, curiosity was the only reason that your father was very curious to learn these things.
True.
And my next question is very relevant to this thing only. These days, when I look at these children, because many parents and many children come to me as a counselor, that what should we do after 10th and 12th? We did not had, even I did not had, being very young as relative to you, even we did not had that facility to choose career options and all these things. But these days, this has become a fashion that everyone wants, every parent want their children to have a really great career.
Sure.
So, but still they are very choosy about school education, which type of school they should enter their parents. But when I look at you, or when I look at many academicians to whom I am interviewing, they primarily have learned from Jilla Parishad school or any government school, and they have achieved a great success in their life. So would you like to specifically give a message to children and their parents on this?
Sure.
Any specific message?
So because you mentioned now, I don't think whether you learned in particular school, expensive school, convent matters a lot. Of course, there are many things which are happening with these private schools. Something which is like more innovative learning, teaching, more innovative sort of competencies development, some sort of hands-on and more, I would say innovative mode of teaching, learning, and so on. So the high schools, those schools are really doing that. Only thing is that students may get better access to some of the facilities,
Resources.
some of the technologies, as you know.
Right.
And their learning or certain skills can be, enhanced. Okay, if they are looking for. But to me, that doesn't affect much. That doesn't have greater impact on individual, because it's ultimately up to the individual. Okay. So that time, because I could not afford, our parents could not afford, there was no concept of private schooling that time, as you know.
Right.
And that's why there's no question. But even when we were in Australia, my son had whole of his education in public school, not a private school. Okay.
Great.
Of course, the quality of public school there is as good as private schools, of course. But there are a few things, additional things in private schools. But I didn't find, and he's still one of the successful, person, in his life. So, and I don't think so that affects much. Yes, sometimes if you want your son or daughter to have particular in mind, then yes, you can have the plan that this particular school or private school. I don't have that issues, and I don't have anything about that. But it's up to individual learner. Okay,
Right.
that how that learner does use that environment, how that learner progresses, how that learner thinks something. Yes, where I want to go. So you mentioned, goal setting is
Important.
extremely important.
Right.
And what my message to parents is that while setting the goal for a child, take that child into account.
Consideration.
Okay, it's whenever even in university when I speak to parents with their son or daughter, only thing is that hardly they let them speak. Okay,
Very
they are
true.
the one telling me,
Correct
no,
observation.
he wants to do this or she wants to do this. She had this problem. I said,
Very
no, let him or her speak,
Right.
because that is very important.
Extremely.
And I think we have to change that, because I'm going to give that message at the end also, but I can tell you it's a great potential in individual, which may not be necessarily tapped fully. Okay, because sometimes if children are not open, you don't know what sort of potentials
Very
they
true.
have.
Very true.
So I think if they have to be open, let
Right.
them flourish,
Perfect.
and our job is just to support them to flourish.
Flourish. Perfect.
Okay,
Absolutely perfect.
That is simple philosophy.
Absolutely perfect. So I would like to jump on to your college days, because as you rightly mentioned, you were learning into a college which was again quite rural and all these things. But definitely college means fun, and you must have had fun at that college days. And connected to this question, how do you observe, or what all are the differences that you see in that time or your college days and today's college or higher education days?
Yeah. Yes. So I would say that my college days, were not something very different than those
Others.
other students. However, one thing I would say that I was very proactive in terms of I was bold. I was asking questions in a class. Because my background is rural. There were few rural students. Majority of students coming from rural background to our class. But there were few students we were from city, sort of not metro but city background, and we always had that inferior complex, that what there were girls, in front of girls, if we get insulted by a teacher, that always that
Yes,
thinking.
yes.
But I was even not bothering for that. I was just answering. If teacher asks any question, I used to give answer boldly, whether it is right or wrong. I used to ask them questions. I used to interact with teachers. I used to interact with my other classmates. So good thing was we had a very good circle of peers around me, and we were motivated. Means all of us, we were motivated to do something in the life.
Right.
Okay, it's not like how to spend time and then go back and start looking for a job and go and see. One thing I would really mention, which is I would like to give that message to many of our youths, young aspirants. None of us in my group decided or even have had a thought that after graduation we will go to political leader and ask that political leader to give us a job. In fact, we were against that.
Great.
We said that if we do that, that means we are lacking in something. Okay,
Right.
and we don't want help from someone unless it is really essential for us to start our career, to start our lives.
Right.
I said if we do that, that will be big mistake. Nowadays, in many regions, even rural, I see that many of these youths, when they are doing college, they always think it's okay. I mean, if I get first class or second, doesn't matter. Anyway, I have some sort of connection
Reference
with
connection.
political leader, and that person will help
me
me
out.
I think we need to come out of that, because I could say that India is lacking in terms of the whole education revolution. Lacking in terms of many different innovative things in education, especially in higher education, is because lack of some of these things.
Yeah, willingness.
Yeah, willingness. Because individuals have great potential. Okay,
Right.
if they think they can be self sufficient. They can be self-driven. Okay, they don't have to take something like this. So that was good thing for us, and we enjoyed that. And I always looking for opportunities to do something differently. For example, when we were in the final year of our college, there is a farewell function, send off we call. I decided to give my speech in English
Great.
to a small class, but I decided, and everybody was making fun of me. I said, "Hey, be careful. Our teachers, they may make fun of you. They may laugh at you. There are girls in the class. They may laugh at." I said, "I don't care. Let me try." They know. My teachers know that I am student of final year undergraduate program.
True.
I came from, hardly we speak English other than, writing the exam papers
Right.
and so on,
Right.
or orals. So let me, speak. Let me try. And I did that. And all teachers, they mention in their speeches that, look, this is what we want. And,
Right.
you are really some of you are good. You are looking. There is a great future
Right.
in you. So that is something which
Fearlessness.
exactly, fearlessness. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that in spite of who says what.
Right.
Okay. So I think we should think along that. That those days, as you know, there were limited influence, intervention of parents in our
Very
education.
True, very true.
They, my parents, they were even not knowing what exactly I'm doing, what type of program I'm doing. Nowadays, parents are well updated. They know exactly which program are you doing. They know how many subjects you are doing. They know how many assessments you have.
Right.
They know even in a few years they may know learning outcomes also. Okay, so I think parents are educated. Parents are up to that level. So that is a big difference. So parents know everything about you. So parents, they are nicely monitoring your journey also, which is good thing because you feel that there is a support.
To certain extent, it's a good thing.
Exactly, to certain extent, it is good thing as long as there is not much intervention.
Right.
But in our those days, there was nothing like that.
Yes.
There was no intervention and there was no question.
Right.
When I did not have to come and tell my results, progress reports, so here today, if our undergraduate student is absent for certain days or having poor performance, we always call parents. We talk to them. My parents never came to my school, never came to my college.
Parents meet was that not existing.
No, parents meet wasn't the buzzword that time. Okay, so that was something very different. So there are there are good things as well.
Yes.
Because nowadays support is very important. Getting support. But I would say even though we were not getting direct support from our parents, that moral support, that that is very important, and that made everything very differently. We knew that we have to do whatever we are doing. We have to do on our own,
Right.
and show it. So one thing was very clear for all of us, that we have to prove ourselves.
Right.
Irrespective of all these circumstances,
True.
all these situations.
So that was the biggest motivation and drive to work hard.
Exactly, work hard.
So in the next question, I would like to know about the journey from after MSc, you went to Monash for your higher studies and PhD, and I think MS into engineering or knowledge. So please tell us about that interesting story, because you mentioned that in 7th or 8th standard you dreamed that you're going to go for MS or PhD in foreign, and you achieved that maybe after some years. So tell us about that.
So when I was working as a lecturer in Walchand Engineering College, I worked there for 9 years.
Great.
So that time I was just looking for opportunities. So that time I started looking for the preparation for TOEFL, GRE. I said, okay, because there was, and anybody like my school.
So the year was?
I started in Walchand 1992.
1992.
August 1992. I was there until 2000, November 2000. So until in those 9 years, I was doing many things. I was mentoring. I was advising students in different clubs, societies, association. I remember 1 year I was staff advisor for 7 clubs, which includes arts club, which includes
art circle,
which includes of course, SESA, MESA, and few other clubs.
Pioneer and other.
And I was also rector in the hostel. I was looking after security. I was also in charge for annual social gathering, So I used to enjoy that. Okay, and
So after this interview, people will know that our VC knows each and everything of any institute.
yeah, exactly. And I used to enjoy that, of course. I used to work with students. I used to motivate them also. And anything I was coming across, I said, okay, I love it. Somebody going to overseas. Some Walchand, alumni, they used to go for US and they're coming. So I used to interact with them. I was, it was very fascinating to me. I was asking how is the stay? When they were saying New York, Washington, those, keywords, they were really, attracting me. So I decided I started preparing GRE, TOEFL, and I was looking for opportunity, anything I wanted to do. And then I come across this conference, international conference, which was held in Monash University itself, 1997. And there was a provision for aided engineering colleges staff members to attend that conference, and government was providing full support, funding support. So I looked at that. I got some news. I got into detail, and I got to the ministry and get that approval for me. And I went there, and it was so fascinating. When I looked at the university, I was there for 4 days actually, supposed to be. But then there was one UNESCO sponsored course which was starting there, and the person who was coordinating and person who actually general chair of the conference came to me in one of the sessions and he said, would you like to stay for a month here? I said, why? I said, no. He said, there is a course which is sponsored. You don't have to pay anything because it's a UNESCO sponsored course, and we are looking for some participants from underdeveloped, developed, and developing countries, especially Asia. And you are from India, so seems that you have a lot of interest. So I said, yes, by all means I can do. I can just want to take permission from my college because it was only for the duration. So he said, don't worry, you give me fax number, I will write directly to the principal. So the fax he sent from his office to my principal that time, that his extension stay should be extended, all financial support will be provided to him and so on. So and had to change my tickets and so on. So that was great, and I saw. So I had a longer time, and I looked their education system, and it was so fascinating the way they had their labs, the way they had their classrooms, the way the program which I was part of. It was about ICT in education, which was just started. Technology in education, which we are talking about now, using VR and using AR, VR in education, or using PBL in education or LMS, effective LMS. Those days, that time just started. And then I actually enjoyed that because there were many things they were doing. And how to design the course, how to take particular assessments and so on. So I enjoyed that. And I decided, yes, this is the place where I want to learn something because my interest was in more education.
Right.
In engineering education rather, how to teach engineering programs, how to assess them. So that helped me. Here also same thing. Some of my colleagues were again teasing me, okay, you're more looking on this and you have decided, but is it possible? I said, no, I will try my best and I will go with scholarship. That was my decision. I will not, spend single money because I could not afford that time also. So that luckily, I applied and I received scholarship also. So it was great experience. That is how I started. And it took me some time because then before that, then I started writing research papers that time. Because, that my professor told if you want a scholarship, there is a competition. But if you have some research papers, you will get some additional
excuses,
additional
relaxations,
kudos, relaxations,
right,
or in the merit list you will be considered. So that was my first thinking about writing a paper. I never wrote a paper, so I started going to library, Shivaji University library, our college library. Started talking to people who have published. Because publication was not that culture in a college.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But Shivaji University has a lot of journals, so I used to refer those journals, formats, how to write, how to paraphrase, and then I wrote. I got help from the person who then became my PhD supervisor. He guided me, he mentored me, and he also helped me in publishing. And that time, once I started publishing, I got that confidence. Yes, I can do that. That is how I received UNESCO scholarship. It was great scholarship. I received scholarship along with part-time job in university.
Great.
Itself from day one. So I had my office there, nice office given. Even I was provided with travel support. So my economy class fare for family even they
Great.
provided. So but I enjoyed a lot. It was a great experience.
So I feel that it was the only thing that is actually helping you to drive this thing is curiosity.
Yeah.
As your father had a curiosity to learn, and in spite of all the restrictions, he was able to learn. The same way you had a curiosity to do something bigger, and you achieved that. I feel it's very important for all the students, those who are going to watch me in this typical episode, that curiosity is going to take you to anywhere where you want to go.
Curiosity and hard work.
Hard work, actually, followed by hard work. That's very true. So now the next question is very important for me as an educator, or probably as a edupreneur. What are the differences that you observe in international educational standards and Indian educational system? So what all are the differences that you have observed?
So when I started my research over there, I did one more master's there and then PhD also. It helped me developing my research profile in terms of because I was a little bit confused about how to do research. Research done here and research done in international is slightly different.
Right.
Okay. So, and I had no any exposure to research because all my coursework, and then I started teaching. So that helped my PhD helped me, doing research. One thing I learned that it's completely independent. Even your supervisor there won't tell you everything. They won't even clearly tell you this is right and this is wrong. Okay. You have to really take a lead. You have to take ownership of your own research. And the way they were even supervising me, it's very different. Even weekend, if they find me there in my office, they were asking, why are you here? That sort of question. Okay, don't you have a family? That means, they know that I'm working, other days I'm working hard, so you don't have to have. The way it was very different. Independent. They were trying to get from me that whether I can do research, and they were slowly, nicely hand-holding me, navigating me. Yes, slow. No, this is too much right. Okay, this is too much left. Okay, too speedy. Too fast, too slow. So that sort of thing. And then I realized, finished. And initially I thought, how come? Because this supervisor is not telling me anything. Whether this is right or wrong also is not telling. So how it will happen? But I know that there was a reason. So they nicely mold you. Okay, they nicely make you independent, not relying on supervisor. You should not stop that. So that was. Then when I finished my PhD, I started my career as a teacher, as a lecturer. But I had to start from scratch again.
Okay.
Because my whole experience in India, it was not counted. They never considered. It's fine. So I started from very first level, entry level in the university system in Australia. And that was my exposure to Australian higher education system. It was thrilling, the way. And right from my first job, my first position, I started taking, the more responsibility. So I said, give me, rather than just teaching, give me additional responsibility. And luckily, my first job was in a rural, regional Queensland in Australia, where, slightly student cohort, is very different than what students you get in Melbourne or Sydney, because more international, in there, those are big cities, okay, cosmopolitan. You get more Chinese students, you get Indian students, you get European students, Americans even. But when you go to rural Queensland, it's more local.
Local, right.
And that was good because I interacted with local students there,
Right.
and their nature. And right from first year of my job, I started taking bigger, higher responsibilities. So I was coordinating one foundation course, which is compulsory for all engineering students. That was great experience, and I was coordinating that from one campus for all remaining 6 campuses. There were 7 campuses, but it was done in a very different way. So I saw that the first lecture hall from where I was giving lecture to 6 other campuses.
Great.
And it was so technologically.
The year was 2009.
It was 2009.
Great.
And it was so technologically driven, very different. I could see student located in 1,000 kilometers, but I was feeling like student is here only. Student was feeling that my lecturer or my coordinator is in front of me. Students were interacting with students from other campuses so closely, even they are placed remotely. So I think the few things which were really good I learned, and the basic difference I learned about the curricula, design, delivery, and assessment, very differently. Okay, so for engineering there was a project-based learning from year 1, semester 1. So first semester students were doing project. Everything was project based.
Great.
Amazing. There was greater community and industry engagement. And slowly I came into governance and operation. So within 3 years I became senior lecturer. Within 4 years I became associate professor.
Great.
Then my dean asked me to take a role of deputy dean, teaching and learning. I said that is the best opportunity for me.
Right.
Because teaching learning responsibility in Australia is supposed to be the best one, supposed to be very important.
Right.
Very, very important, because it's a responsibility for delivering the core business of the university, which is teaching and learning.
Right.
So perfect. I enjoyed that. I learned many things. There I learned about governance. I learned about policies, how policies are developed. I had opportunity to be part of leadership team. There were regular leadership conferences where our vice-chancellor used to take us to resorts and do 2 days of nice interaction about strategies, university strategy, university goals, how to work towards those university strategies and goals, how to devise strategies for next 5 years, and how to deliver those strategies. Okay, that was something which is not happening here even now. And of course, that also gave me some sort of open door for me to enter into national and international community.
Right.
Okay. And community of higher educators, where I came. There was an organization called Australasian Association of Engineering Education. The core group of engineering educators, they're coming together. They're getting lots of grants from education department, of government. Had lots of connections, international connections. And then I developed my international connections there. So my international networking started there in those roles. So within that, those 4, I was 6 total. I think I was there roughly 6 years in Queensland, in that university. But within 6 years, I initiated many things. I initiated few things for university, but I initiated few things for my own personal, professional
growth as well.
So one journal I started, which was published from New York, Australia, America. Then I started one conference. I initiated, and I'm founding general chair.
Yeah.
That conference is still going on. We created one core group of like-minded people, located in Europe, in Middle East, even Africa, in US, of course, and Asia, and we are together.
Great.
And we even initiated organization called APACA, Asia Pacific Alliance on Quality Assurance in Higher Education. So that was sort of my baby, I would say. And through that, we are working on higher education policies. We are working on higher education strategies. We are working on innovations in higher education. Everything towards quality. Okay, because quality is my passion also. I initiated one quality group in the university itself, and I was chairing that group. And that group was feeding to the program committee, feeding to vice-chancellor about few ideas. So one of the awards I received, best practices from Central Queensland University for that group, because I was chair of that group, the quality working group QWG, and we worked on students' feedback, which is still in preliminary phase here.
Yes, yes.
Because the way we collected student feedback, very different, analyze very different, and how we use that feedback, to really continuous improvement is different. That, I'm planning to have that here also. We are slowly developing. But one thing I would rather mention, the big difference, student feedback in Australia is taken very serious because the data is collected by government. Okay, there's no any influence intervention by individual university. Data is directly collected from students by the government. That data is analyzed, and based on that data, the performance funding
is dependent on that.
So the funding is aligned with student feedback. If student feedback is not good, funding is reduced. If student feedback is good, then next, the following year, funding will be better.
Right.
So once it is anything aligned with money, that people do it seriously. So that is something which, here we are doing same thing, that I want to align student feedback with performance, teachers' performance. Okay. And even one thing, a little bit detail. So it is not evaluation or feedback about teacher. It is feedback about teaching.
Right.
And subsequently learning.
Understood.
Okay.
Got your point.
So it should not be how teacher looks like, how teacher behaves.
Exactly. Right.
It is more about learning and teaching.
Right.
Okay. So that is how it should be. So many things I learned because you asked the question. So that was my base learning in Australia. And then also I came across some of the international organizations as well.
Great. And I can understand, as you have been there for so many years, maybe you have a lot of observations and we won't be able to cover it into the stipulated time. So that's absolutely fair. So the next question is more about, I'm not able to control myself to ask this question. Do you find any difference in the motive of education in India and Australia or abroad? Because today when I see at the students, and that is my next section actually, employability. So I'm trying to relate that everyone wants to get a job after education. So getting a job or getting high paid salary is the fundamental motive of any kind of graduation or education. So do you find this right? What about the Australian case?
I think in Australia and internationally also, the way education has impact on individual is not just focus on one thing, that
getting a job
and getting a higher salary job, or it is more about making independent, making able person, able individual to ensure a secured job,
right,
and career profile after that. That is a big difference. Perfect. I don't know whether the audience understand this, but we have a specific agenda here. I don't mind that. Of course, everybody wants job, everybody wants to make money, but that agenda should not only focus on a particular thing which is a superficial. It should go deeper down. So in education should provide the ability of individual to become something expert in that particular discipline.
Perfect.
Suppose if I'm doing engineering, the program should allow me to be, transit into engineering profession. Perfect. And become a successful engineer. Perfect. And then move into the ladder and so on.
Perfect.
It's not like targeting just one job and one specific, because getting first job and getting good salary, that doesn't end your career there. Career starts there actually.
Very true.
Okay. So I think this is something coming. I think it is coming in our new education policy also now.
NEP, right,
and it may happen.
Right.
But I think this is somehow rigorously we have to think. And that is what I found the difference.
Now, the next question is very interesting for other visionary academicians, those who are going to listen to you. Because, in COVID, everyone was forced to go for or accept the online education.
Yeah.
But as you rightly mentioned, in 2009 itself, Australian education had that infrastructure where you were delivering on one university or one campus and other students were able to learn. So I think there was a huge acceptance to this mode of education. So do you think that is possible in Indian education and in the Indian culture?
I think in India is still students are not fully, I think, acquainted or fully into that mode. Even today we get a request, examination should be online or, classes should be online. Nowadays, I assume that it's a normal. Okay, new normal, of course, but it's a normal.
Yes, yes.
So I think we should come back to our normal state, which was there. But without COVID, even 2009-10, that time, whether it is Central Queensland University located in regional Queensland, or after that I joined Deakin University, which is also, I think, Australia's one of the first university established for distance education. 40 years back, 45 years back. And that time they were delivering distance education program. That time, you just imagine.
Great.
Okay, even 70s or before 70s. So I think when we were doing, there were no COVID, there was no, the distance mode, there were no remote learning. However, we were asked to put everything in our LMS and treat normal student, regular student, like a student learning in a remote mode. So in Deakin, there are two types of learners. One, the cloud learners, they call. Okay, cloud is now, but that time the concept was there. So they were called cloud learning or cloud learners. And the other one is those who are face to face. Okay, so in class. Okay, so if suppose I am developing or designing my course subject, I have to design in such a way that I have to think cloud students in my mind. Even students coming to the class, but I have to upload everything on my LMS. Students have to access. Even I go into the class, teach, but I have to use that LMS, open my PowerPoint, which is there.
There, right. Great.
Got it?
Understood.
We have to have nice evaluation system. All assessments should be submitted by LMS. All results, marks, feedback should be provided by LMS. So all very different types.
Very well structured.
So apart from some mindset of people there, I don't think the Western world or even country like Australia had that difficulties that now how to go into remote learning mode. Okay, there are systems because you need a lot of systems. You need proper technologies, and this is where I think still we coped up very well in Indian settings. Because we are fast learners, we learn very well. Teachers did very good job, I would say. I would really congratulate all of them. But I think we need to now, have that mindset that anything we are developing, we should develop for assuming that students will be learning remotely also in some point of time.
Right.
Or even they come to the class, but let them go and again open and see. Even lectures we used to give, those lectures were recorded and uploaded even for the students coming regularly face to face. Students suppose want to recall something, let them go back.
Relearning,
they let them go back and just sit down and while having a cup of coffee, let them watch your session. So that was the idea.
Perfect. So since I have started to conduct your interview, I have observed that you had taken some deliberate efforts at every point of time. Let it be your college, let it be your school, maybe that felicitation program for Mr. Arun Kulkarni. When you joined Walchand, you were a part of so many activities. So it is indicating me that you had took deliberate efforts to transform yourself from a normal teacher or professor, or when you joined Australian universities, you were a part of each and everything. So can you tell me when our journey to become a leader, how much intense or how much curious we should be, because I'm sure that, sir, at least 10,000 students are going to watch you. Many engineering college faculties are also going to watch you. So probably if a faculty wants to become a purely a principal, director, or maybe in a
Leadership
VC
role.
feature, so what advice will you have for them?
Yeah, so thank you for asking me this question. So the example which I mentioned in my previous, couple of minutes back about quality working group, which I initiated, QWG, that is something I initiated, and that I did while I was deputy dean, or I was, even program coordinator and so on. So something like that I initiated every time. In Deakin, I would say I initiated many things because few things I would like to mention, because majority of students in Deakin were international, and that too Indian. Because I was looking after postgraduate program. So whole engineering postgraduate was like looked after by me. I was director postgraduate, and huge number of students. And I could see students are paying huge fees, as you know.
Right.
They have to go there 30, 35, 40 lakhs
Yes.
of fees for the program. And then they were trying to, do part-time job, to help, to get some
Support
pocket
themselves,
money,
right,
support themselves. And hard life, okay? So one thing I came to know that every student, they are really starving for some sort of industry exposure, local industry exposure. Because ultimately, if they are coming for, say, engineering programs, after finishing masters there, they want to work in engineering industry in Australia, obviously. But what happened, I observed that it was very tough for them. Because industries in Australia, they were not letting them come inside. They were knocking door, but they were not, because it requires a lot of trust. So I initiated one program, which is also aligned with your maybe next question, which I will answer now, employability. So we initiated one program called WIL, Work Integrated Learning. And in that, we developed systematic engineering industry internships for our master students. I would say, and I'm definitely confident about that, it was the first university in Melbourne, in Australia, to do such thing for masters. It was there for undergraduate students, because undergraduate students more domestic. So they have a lot of trust and all these things. International students, they have less trust because they're undergraduate, they don't know what skills they have. They don't know whether they will do the job. It took me around 9 to 10 months to work with faculty, the higher level faculty officials, pro vice-chancellor, faculty executive dean, school dean. And they were wanted one thing from me. They said, Arun, are you sure if we do this, it will work? Because we don't want to spoil our name. Because if our students go there and spoil university name, industry will not let university to come back. Right. I said, I will take a guarantee of that. I know what to do. Because I know what exactly students looking for and what they're lacking also. So I made them prepared. There was proper induction, there was a will workshop I organized before. And it was like not free lunch for everyone. Those students are really motivated for education, complete master's program, get good job, and develop their professional career. Only those students will get. So there was a selection process. So somebody is there for master's program but would like to drive taxis, will not have a motivation. So why to spend my energy and university energy on that? So rather I wanted to do that. So students started getting motivated, and students were really happy seeing this. Then we started with the small numbers, and all those students, when they started their internships, it was structured short period. It was not like a full year. It was one semester but few hours. They were so happy. I could see that they were so, oh my God, this is how it have happened. Some of students getting exposure, and their line managers or their industry supervisors asking them to come to their weekly meetings. So Indian students going and watching all these Australian people, white people talking about the industry, motivation, strategies, their operations. So happy. And because they said, now we know how industry works. And we had proper assessments there. I started interacting with some of the local industries. I started attending their breakfast meetings. I motivated industry also. This is what our students can do. It's win-win because they are doing voluntarily. They are not,
Paid.
they are not paid. In fact, some of them, they willingly paying our students for their time.
Great.
Okay, generously. So it was good. So that changed everything, and students, master students, where I remember some of the students, they came after finishing their internship because they got job in the same organization.
Company. Right.
And their line supervisors or CEO asked me, I'm, giving a full-time job to your student, this candidate. I said, no, he's on student visa. He said, I don't care, I will get their visas also. So happy, and the students came and they were really touching my feet and had tears in their eyes.
Obviously.
They said, this is what we were looking for.
Right.
I think in my whole life, this is something, when I could reflect on those outcomes, this is something I love it. And still now I have a passion for that. When it seems, employability, it's not just what we teach in a classroom. It is more than it to understand how employees are, working, how industries are working, what they are expecting from students. And I think this is the best thing, okay, something like that. So there are few initiatives we have done. Other thing I have asked postgraduate students to come together and form their nice, group, do some activities. Few activities we did because all those were engineering programs. So I asked Engineers Australia to help them, getting their professional recognition, which was again big thing for them.
Right.
So I invited them. They did one session. They did mock interviews. They said any standard engineering firm in Australia, what they expect from a new graduate. This is something which I initiated, and it's still working.
Yes.
Because I was watching sometimes on LinkedIn. I recently watched one video where one of my students who was part of internship, who was also part of getting job in there, and who was also doing my project. That student was invited as an alumni, and he was interviewed. Great. And he mentioned, in his opening speech, he mentioned, today I missed Professor Patil. That was his starting speech. Okay, so and then he said, I would like to tell you what I'm here today is because of him. The way he helped us grooming and knowing about our Australian industry. Now he's working with government, in energy sector. So this is something which good outcomes. Many initiatives we had. Here also we are doing many things. All those things I'm bringing.
Yeah, that was my quite natural question.
Yes, so we are bringing project-based learning. We are creating design studios. We are creating project studios. So learning space is the concept now, which is there, which has now in some of the universities. So we are creating completely new learning space for our students, especially for supporting project-based and design-based learning. We are doing that. We are creating whole innovation incubation suite. Okay, and what is important I'm bringing is a lot of internationalization. So our design program will be articulated with Decide University, with Swinburne University. Our aeronautical aerospace program is going to articulate with San Jose State University, California.
Great.
Our other programs, many programs are articulated with Deakin possibly. Okay, we are working on that. We are working closely with the Victoria Institute of Technology, where I was academic dean, okay, for our MBA and IT students. We are also working closely with some European organizations, European societies also. Recently, we received British Council's grant for developing stand-alone master's program in disaster management, which is supported by SIDRI, British Council, and the government of India and UK government.
Great.
Okay, so and we are sending 4 students for pilot program project in UK, fully sponsored by British Council. So we are bringing those many things. We have lots of adjunct and distinguished professors on our board. They are helping. Every month there are visitors. They are coming, spending time, interacting with students, interacting with our staff, whether it is teaching learning related, whether it is research related. So we try to give the most latest to our students. Even they are located in Kolhapur, but we want to know then what is exactly happening now in cloud computing. What is happening in IoT now? What is happening in new design space? What is happening in on management? We are doing. And in management, we are using more than 50% of staff who have some industry background, okay, or highly recognized in their own areas, okay, highly experts and executives. They are coming and they are interacting, actually teaching some of the subjects. Okay, so these are the new concepts we are bringing.
You're going to bring. So actually, I was supposed to ask this question in the end. That what actually pushed you to come back to India after doing a lot of activities in Australia? But now, when you are answering, I can predict or I can guess that maybe an internal drive to give back to the local community what you have experienced. Is that
Exactly, Prasanna. So this is one thing, and see, 21 years I already spent, abroad. Although my experience is in Australia, but I worked in international setting.
Yes,
I
yes.
spent many time in Europe. I spent some time in US, and all those things now we are doing. I already done, there with other
Yes,
side of
yes,
fence.
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
for Indian universities, for European universities, and so on. I also had opportunity to work with government agencies, government of some countries on policy, quality, etc. For example, Mauritius, I was involved with Mauritian government higher education, higher and technical education to audit their universities.
Great?
Okay, so I was invited as an expert. I did audits of many universities, including open universities in Mauritius. In Vietnam, before just coming here, last year I finished one huge mega project that national skills qualification framework, which is coming in India. They have that qualification framework recently set, and based on that qualification framework, they want to design undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD program in engineering.
Great.
And they want standards to be developed. What are the standards? What should be teaching learning? What should be assessment? How to monitor that? Okay, and I was given that project. So they actually gave that project to Australian government, which is TEXA, Tertiary Education and Quality Standards. TEXA is a big thing like NAC of Australia, and they had worldwide presence. So TEXA invited many experts, and they selected me as one of the experts.
Great.
And they gave me that project. I completed that project. So we developed standards. I have given them. Now they are using that standards in Vietnam for degrees, undergraduate, BE, BTech, postgraduate, ME, MTech, and PhD. So this is something. So I think that I have acquired enough knowledge, although it's a lifelong learning for everyone.
Right.
I'm still learning, but whatever I have, there are few things which are completely new to Indian settings.
Yes.
I want to bring them.
Yes.
And I want to really tell students, okay, that this is the way
You should learn.
you should learn. This is the way to go, and this is the way to think of. And I want to bring those things. I want to educate. I want to give lots of training, lots of new ideas to our academics, researchers. So last year, after joining, first thing I did is my workshops about curriculum design. How to design curriculum, how to design your own course, how to design whole program, how to map program outcomes and learning outcomes of individual subjects, how to assess them, how to design assessment, because that is my passion.
Right.
So I want to bring all these things and give that knowledge, whatever I have,
Great.
to that's what, and I'm enjoying. And university, Sanjay Ghodawat University, Honorable Chairman Sanjay Ghodawat ji, Trustee Vinayak ji Bhosle, they have given full freedom to me and always encouragement and support. Do something new, which is what the whole world is doing. Bring best practices. That is what we are doing.
Great.
So we want to ensure that this university will be, stand out, very different.
Yes.
Okay, that is what we are.
So next, I would like to just go quickly now, 2 or 3 questions, and we will finish now. So how do you think at the or how do you look at the employability ecosystem? Because as you rightly mentioned, getting a job should be the second priority. Being a resourceful and responsible human being or good engineer is the first priority. So how do you look at the current setup of employability or training placement in your university?
So one thing, I came from a background abroad. There is no training placement in university.
At
You
all.
should know that. So when Indian students coming for masters, they were asking, where is the TPO?
Huh.
Where is training and placement office? I was asking, what is TPO? What is training and placement? The university does not have any training and placement. They don't have. However, they have offices where employability related career guidance,
Yes,
career
yes.
advice,
Huh.
some trainings they are given. But it's like voluntary. It's not mandatory for university to have that. However, universities, they have to show that their graduates are
Getting
employable.
Yes, yes.
That data they have to still show like our data. So I came from that background. But here, at the time of enrollment, parents and students, they ask,
Yes,
what
they're
is the
more
training placement?
inclined. Yes,
Where I will
yes.
be get placed?
Yes, yes.
I think we have to slightly change that. There should be support. But for example, skills or competencies required for students after graduation at the time of placements, placement drives, interviews. I think we have to identify, monitor, teach, and assess those skills right from year one. Because by the time they go to final year, it is too late for somebody to develop their, say, communication skills,
Very true, very true.
presentation skills. So it has to somehow incorporate.
Continuous learning.
And how can you do that? The best way to do that, your curricula. So your curricula, and now NEP is bringing that also.
Yes.
So your curricula should be developed, designed in a such a way that all these things are incorporated at various stages. So that by the time student finishes graduation or goes into the last phase of, students can say, assess himself or herself and say, okay, tick, I'm ready.
Right.
Okay, that is what, and the rest of the time the student should see what is the new thing which I am missing, okay, or what completely in my discipline, my domain, something outstanding which I should spend some time on.
Right.
So that is what I think should be, and NEP is putting that emphasis now.
Right.
So Coursera, for example, MOOCs, we can't teach everything in class. So students, you do that,
You get access to
credit,
it.
and that's why credentials, micro credentials, concept of even recognizing credits.
Yes. Credit
I think we
transfer.
should go even to that level, that let students bring their credits and we identify and recognize them.
Great.
Okay, if somebody is working part time and doing projects, real work projects, okay, and we are asking them to, or we are teaching them project management
That is
with
that is not
with the student in the class where they don't have any idea about project management, whereas this student has already
done the project.
implemented several projects successfully.
Right.
So we should ask, you show your credentials, bring that, and we will identify and give you credits. You don't have to come into the class because you are better project manager.
Right.
I think we are doing that, and somehow trend is changing. But I think it is again university's responsibility to make everybody employable. Because it's a right.
Perfect.
Or entrepreneur, of course. But the university should provide facilities for that journey.
Right.
That should happen in the course.
Right. Great.
Okay, that is how the principle or philosophy is.
So finally, as I'm not really able to hold on myself, so are we going to see Sanjay Ghodawat University have their online and distance education courses as well, maybe in coming future?
So right now we are not supposed to deliver distance program because we are applying and then UGC committee will be there.
Okay.
But however, as per the requirement of UGC, new education policy, NAC, we will have some online programs. Some online courses are there. We have developed, not programs, courses, subjects. And we have recently created new learning studio, very advanced one. Okay, so it's facilities like, good camera, very good, editing facility, rendering facility, high performance computer. So teachers now they are using that, and every teacher is developing 1 or 2 courses in a semester.
Great.
And that we want students to go into some courses in a flipped mode. Okay, so and we are doing that. So that is happening. So Sanjay Ghodawat University is well ahead of that, and there are every program there will be some courses, some units which will be in a flipped mode or blended mode, and they are delivering. Okay,
Yes.
that is something happening.
Great, great. So, finally, a message for your fellow academicians, as you have spoken a lot about the modernization of
Yeah.
university. So, that one message. Second, specifically, as the now students, every 12th student is now excited to get admitted into engineering. So, a message for those people. And finally, a message for industry, because as you rightly mentioned, industry has got a huge role into empowering the educational setup. So, a message to these people.
So for thank you very much for academics or for my fellow colleagues. I think it's good NEPs now on our doorstep, and there are many good things which are incorporated in NEP. We should implement NEP definitely. But I think anything we do, whether it is a program development, whether it is assessment, I think we should be very, very innovative, and we should have everything student centered, because nowadays what teaching centered has gone. So in fact we should ask students in the class what you want to learn, rather than we should tell them this is what I'm going to teach. Okay, this is the way forward. So there is a great potential. We have a lot of growth volume wise. India has a great youth population, and because of that, I would say IT disruptions, because of digital disruptions, there are wonderful opportunities, and we should really take advantage of these opportunities. Our students are great, our students are intellectual. I think we have to develop ecosystem where every student coming into our education system will have opportunity to grow, to develop, and professionally go somewhere up above in the ladder. Okay, that is for academics. For students, you are in a era where ocean is the limit, sky is the limit, and there is no such thing like 20 years before, 30 years before, you do certain program and then you will have white collar job and then you have a good life. Those days have gone now. Anybody, somebody thinking of visual arts may have a better future. Somebody thinking of journalism, advanced journalism, is even great future. Somebody thinking of fashion design, they can make millions. So it's not like only engineering, medical, it's more about every program. And it's amalgamation of interdisciplinary fields. So I think this is a great opportunity for students to grow, and there is a great life ahead also. Of course, you are technology savvy, and technology has a greater influence on your learning as well as on your career. But I think that any profession is a good profession these days. Any profession is a respectful profession. So don't think that I'm doing arts, so I'm not as good as somebody doing some advanced course. No, those days have gone. So all the best, and your future. The whole world is looking at you, and looking at our Indian youth especially, because technology is savvy, and what we have really dominated the whole world in terms of IT sector. Okay, so there is a great future.
For
And industry, yes, I have always dreamed for Indian higher education sector that we should work like, or we should have a days like National Science Foundation is doing in America, for example, or some European organizations are doing. We should have great trust in industries, and the industry should have a greater trust in universities. If we achieve that, there is nothing required. I think the day should come when industry should think, if I have a problem in my industry, where is the nearest university I can call professor of that university or student of that university, and those people will solve my problem rather than going to into private consultant. I'm really looking for those days, and this is my ambition. And in my university, we are doing, in Sanjay Ghodawat University, we are getting that. We are strengthening our industry relations. But not only that, we are asking our industry people, you tell us what should we teach, because they are the one going to employ our students. Perfect. So when students will go there, industry person will say, oh, I know this student, I know what that student has learned. That has to be happen. So it's a great potential. We need to build that trust, and then I think the partnership between university and industry will take this world forward. Because we don't know what industry is required. Okay, so industry somehow needs to tell us this is what the future. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So, I think you have seen the entire interview now, and I have concluded, or my takeaways from this interview is, first of all, curiosity is the key to drive into our life, followed by hard work, as we discussed. And most importantly, I feel listening to him has given me a lot of motivation and inspiration that Indian education still needs a lot of activities to be done, and myself as a part of that system will definitely look forward to contribute into that. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you for this wonderful interaction. Thank you.
Thank you.